Ah, Christmas. A time for joy, warmth, and coming together with loved ones. Unless, of course, you were in Stalingrad in 1942, where the only thing coming together was frostbite, starvation, and artillery fire. Welcome to Gross History, where we unwrap humanity's most festive disasters. I'm Dr. Nigel Islington, and today we're diving headfirst into the snowdrifts of Stalingrad to discover the 5 grossest things about Christmas during one of the deadliest battles in history. Spoiler, it's not exactly chestnuts roasting on an open fire. The Battle of Stalingrad, as you might know, was one of the most horrific engagements of World War II, and by the time Christmas rolled around, it was nothing short of a nightmare. Abandoned to its fate on the frozen Volga by Adolf Hitler, the German Sixth Army was expected to hold on to the ruins of Stalingrad down to the last man. So grab your eggnog and settle in as we explore the 5 grossest things about Stalingrad during Christmas 1942. 1. Frostbite, the silent killer. Nothing says holiday cheer like losing your fingers and toes to frostbite. By December, temperatures in Stalingrad plummeted to as low as -40 degrees Celsius. Most German soldiers had little more than thin uniforms, inadequate boots, and a whole lot of regret. The cold wasn't just uncomfortable, it was grotesque. Limbs turned black and brittle. Frostbite victims often broke off their own toes without realizing it, and gangrene became a death sentence. Soviet soldiers didn't fare much better, but at least they had a slight advantage: their fur-lined winter gear. Morale of the story? Santa isn't the only one who appreciates a good coat. 2. The soup of desperation. Let's talk about dinner, shall we? Germans' food supply was a disaster by Christmas. With the Red Army encircling them in Operation Uranus, supply lines were cut off. The Luftwaffe tried to airdrop rations, but it was a laughable failure. Desperate soldiers turned to gross cuisine. Soup became a generous term for boiled horse bones, sawdust, and occasionally their leather belts. Yes, some soldiers actually ate their belts, softening the leather in hot water. It wasn't exactly a Michelin-starred meal, but it did help you chew through the misery. Cannibalism, the unspoken feast. Of course, when the horses ran out and the belts were gone, there was, well, in each other. Cannibalism is the dark, grim reality of siege warfare, and Stalingrad was no exception. German and Soviet soldiers alike whispered about comrades who went missing, only to reappear as the mystery meat in someone's stew. Entire bodies of evidence, pardon the pun, suggest that some units quietly turned to their fallen for sustenance. It's a sobering reminder that the thin veneer of civilization can disappear faster than a roast turkey on Christmas Day. The endless stench. Now let's talk about the smell. Christmas in Stalingrad wasn't pine trees and fresh snow. It was rotting corpses, burning rubble, and human waste. With over 2 million combatants and tens of thousands of civilians trapped in a city of ruin, there was no time or space for proper burial. The bodies of soldiers and civilians froze where they fell, sometimes used as makeshift cover from enemy fire. The air was thick with the stench of decay, a revolting backdrop to the endless fighting. Add in the occasional burst sewer line and you've got a scent that makes Aunt Mildred's overcooked Brussels sprouts seem downright heavenly. The Christmas ceasefire that never was. Finally, the saddest gross thing about Christmas in Stalingrad: the lack of humanity. There was no pause for peace, no exchange of gifts, no brief respite like the famous Christmas truce of 1914. Instead, the fighting raged on, as relentless as the cold. Soldiers on both sides were starving, dying of frostbite, and losing their sanity. But there was no mercy. Even Christmas Day saw artillery fire, sniper attacks, and the endless screams of the wounded. If there was a Christmas spirit, it had frozen solid alongside everything else. So there you have it, the 5 grossest things about Christmas at Stalingrad in 1942. A holiday season marked not by joy and goodwill, but by frostbite, starvation, cannibalism, stench, and the crushing absence of hope. As you sip your hot cocoa this season, spare a thought for the soldiers and civilians who endured one of history's darkest winters. History, as always, has lessons to teach us. Chiefly that a warm hearth and a full belly are blessings we should never take for granted. Thank you for joining me on Gross History.